And you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone. I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes! Episode 275, MinneZona Sports Live. We're back after a 1-week hiatus due to moving reasons, and will be explained in a second here. So, without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., 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 and all the way in St. Cloud, Minnesota, at the new Granite City Studios, Paul Volta Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
Not a whole heck of a lot. I mean, we do have the new location set up, and boy, it has been a labor of love, to say the least, to get everything moved up and moved around. It's been a lot, but at the same time, it's finally nice to have a place that we can certainly call our own and to have this nice new location set up. Still working on a few things with the setup and everything, but it has been fun, to absolutely say the least, and hoping for, obviously, many great things still ahead.
Yes, that is what we are hoping. We are hoping that, it's going to be all put together nicely. There's going to be added stuff and whatnot. We're happy that the move is still going. It's still kind of going a little bit, but the main stuff's in there. You guys been in there, so that's great to hear. The new digs at Granite City Studios. We love it. So, a lot to discuss tonight, especially. Oh, what do we got here? What's going on here? Oh, is that R2-D2?
Somebody's birthday was on Monday, and yes, got an R2-D2 from their
yeah, let's go. Claps out. I was looking for something else too. Where's my? Oh, there it is. There we go. Happy birthday to the main man, the guy, Case Vold.
Yes. Shouts
out to him. And another birthday as well, which is probably coming up later. We will discuss when that comes up as well. So tonight, free agency is in full swing for your Minnesota Vikings. We unfortunately we weren't able to get Mikey Ryan on live, but we have him on recording of him talking about some possible moves. Now, we had to update a couple things here and there, but the good news is that not a lot has happened too much yet. We have the Twitter machine ready to go, to say the least, and I will keep an eye out on everything that's going on. I mean, our Vikings, Kyler Murray is apparently here in Minnesota already. Maybe not, maybe not. Maybe he's on his way. I don't know. But we are waiting on a potential moves for our Minnesota Vikings. So we will keep you informed when our recording plays. And then no special segment tonight, obviously, because right after we talk with Mikey, you'll be on with us. We'll quick talk about what's happening today, including R2D2, who is free agency. It's computing. It's computing everything what the Vikings.
Okay. All right. He saw it and heard it all.
I love it. I love it. And I'm losing. There we go. Whoa, hey, there's Kaser getting going with R2D2. Yes, let's go, Lucas. We are stoked to talk more Vikings, keep you up to date as well. So, absurd or approved tonight, a lot of good ones. MaxCrosby going to Baltimore. No, just kidding. Not going to Baltimore, apparently. The shocker that it was over with the Baltimore Ravens and the Raiders. We will discuss that. Apparently, President Trump is kind of getting a team together to save college sports, apparently. We'll discuss that. NCAA to keep eye on the tourney refs. Ooh. Got to keep an eye out. You never know who's getting paid or something like that. And I joke. Rondarousey, Ginacarano are fighting on the flicks. Was it May, right? Is it May or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometime in May, era versus era. We'll discuss that as well. Big fight coming your way here. And, of course, Shield shoutouts. It's been a week. We got to get to Shield shoutouts. So, with that being said, guys, we discussed with Mikey kind of the news that the Vikings were going to release Jonathan Allen and also well as JavonHargrave. JavonHargrave has a new home in Green Bay, apparently. Yes, sound the booze. Yeah. I guess he was really petty about leaving, so we got that going for us. I don't get that. But we discussed that. We talked about the probability of Kyler being on the squad, what our thoughts on the whole situation is. Mikey gives a couple of guys to target in free agency. So without further ado, let's talk to Mikey. Let's see what's going on in regards to our Minnesota Vikings. See you in a bit. Yes, it is the free agency frenzy for the Minnesota Vikings. Well, to say the least, we welcome Mikey Ryan, obviously our Minnesota Vikings expert as well. A lot to be talked about with our Minnesota Vikings, Mikey. But before we get into that, because Voldy, this is the first time we've had Mikey on since the Zony Awards, and we have to ask Mikey his thoughts on his most absurd statement, his victory, victory. It came down close. It was close. So.
I'm calling it a victory.
Honestly, it came down to that one, and then I think it was between you and Joe Polad, if I'm not mistaken, in regards to statements.
Yeah.
That is about the only time I want my name referenced in the same sentence as a Polad.
Yes, you don't want to be associated with Polads. Nobody does. That's a whole different situation. But, Mikey, how are you feeling after the victory? What do you got?
My statement was quite absurd. It was very crazy. As all of our bold takes are, I finally cracked through after 6 years of trying. It seems like at this point, I feel great. I'm humbled. I'm happy to be among the famous or infamous winners of years past, and now that I have one, hopefully I'll never get here again.
You've been really gunning for it, and you finally got it. I mean, I
finally got one.
To the Vikings, I will say, Mikey, it is all quiet on the Midwestern front, to be quite honest. I think that's the best way to put it. The Vikings, unfortunately, and we all knew it was a long shot. Voldy, I've talked about this with you. Mikey, obviously, I talked about this with you. Jalen Naylor going to the Las Vegas Raiders, a 3-year deal, over $30 million. Congrats out to him. It's a bummer because now we don't have our wide receiver 3. But then again, that's just opportunities for the Vikings to go look at some guys too. And also the big kind of head scratcher one that I'm kind of shocked about, Ryan Wright going to the Aints. Leaving the Vikings and getting like a 4-year deal worth like $16 million. I mean, I wasn't going to pay that for a punter, but I guess New Orleans really needs a punter. So the main thing is,
they don't have much offense, so they're going to be punting a lot. So.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. $8 million of it guaranteed. So there's a good chunk out of your cap right there. So a couple guys leaving in free agency. We kind of knew some of those guys would go. Vikings releasing Aaron Jones, JavonHargrave, JonathanAllen. It's just to name a few. But the Vikings made one move that is kind of noteworthy in this sense too. They go out and sign jamespierre from the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the top graded cover corners last year. So this is great depth piece for the Vikings. They got some D-backs going there. So the question I asked to you, Mikey, so far with the Vikings is, what are your thoughts on these, the one move and the guys leaving as well? What do you got?
Yeah, the guys leaving, it sucks. We were on the unfortunate situation where we had the most expensive payroll last year. And a lot of these guys didn't really pan out. Like Hargrave, was on and off the field all the time. JonathanAllen, kind of older. Along with, I hate to see Naylor go, but he's earned that paycheck. Absolutely. He was balling out last year. And hopefully the Vikings either have a plan in free agency or Ty Felton actually pans out, because last year he didn't get much playing time, if at all, and he was mainly a special teams guy. But the Ryan Wright thing is weird because, yes, it's losing a punter. It's not that big of a deal, but Will Record has only had Ryan Wright as the holder for him. So I don't know if we're going to have to try to go get someone else to figure out his holding, or what the chemistry is going to be like that, because he was lights out last year. He was probably in contention to be our best player on the Minnesota Vikings at kicker of all positions. But I thought the moves were expected yet sad, except for the jamespierre pickup. That one was real. I think is a sleeper one. He's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna be CB1. Could be CB2. He's probably gonna be fighting for CB2 or 3 would be my guess. But he can play outside, which lets you move Byron Murphy inside in those more nickel and dime packages if you want to get him kind of in a more comfortable spot, where I think a lot of the times that's where he wants to play, is inside instead of outside.
So the interesting thing to me is that this deal is a 2-year deal, signing bonus $2.5 million, and then guaranteed $3.7, which is actually not a huge contract. It's a good, hey, here's what you got. Show us what you can do. Behind Murphy, behind Isaiah Rodgers, I think this is a good get, a good, I would say, Flores get, to say the least, to this defense, as an example. So he's one of the top graded corners from last year. This is a good get, I feel like, too. So, Voldy, what are your thoughts on some of the moves here?
Yeah, I think just really it's all about clearing up the cap, unfortunately, with the release of Aaron Jones, even the shopping of Jonathan Grenard as well, of course, putting that out there because the Vikings are in a very weird position right now with letting go of Kwesi Mensa, and then you also have Brzezinski as the GM currently, and I don't know how the GM search is going right now, but no new name has really come about other than just saying that we're gonna let Rob cook, if you will. If you've been following Isaiah Rogers' social media, he's been all on board with letting Rob cook one way or another. But I think just with the moves that have been made, of course, just getting guys off the books to open up a few more things and bringing in a guy like Pierre as well. I mean, this is definitely a good solid depth piece because if we've seen one thing over the last couple of years, we've had young corners. They haven't really panned out and they've had to go on elsewhere. And the Vikings have had to bring in some veteran players on the defensive backfield as well. You had, of course, you bring in like Isaiah Rogers, Super Bowl champion as well. Before that, you had Stephon Gilmore and just older guys as well. Patrick Peterson on top of it, too, a few years back. But now they're trying to get into the right direction. Of course, you want that experience on the defensive backfield, but still, it's a very low risk, high reward situation because the risk is it doesn't pan out. The reward is you're not out too much money over a 2-year span with Pierre. And if he ends up balling out, then hey, you got a heck of a deal. And then you're just gonna have to worry about it in a couple of years to see if he wants to stick around or if he's gonna go out there and try and get a bag in the process.
Yeah, well said. And I'm glad you brought up the Grenard thing because I feel like that has kind of spearheaded a lot of things. A lot of DNs have left. Jalen Phillips just signed with the Panthers, 4-year deal, and it was like $120 million or something like that. Yeah. Crazy amount of money. But Grenard wants to get paid. The issue is the Vikings don't have a ton of cap space to work with here. Mm-hmm. I don't blame Jonathan Grenard for wanting more money, but I feel like he might have to read the room a little bit, to be quite honest. I mean, they don't have enough cap to really give him what he's kind of looking for. And the Vikings have an argument to be said here. He only had 3 sacks last season. And I know, the injuries and stuff like that. I still think he's a very good... Yeah, I still think he's a very good pass rusher nonetheless. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be tough because maybe is this like the emergence? They're banking on the emergence with Dallas Turner. That's the big question. I feel like this too. So before we get into obviously kind of the bigger topic with that, but I'm glad you brought that up, Voldy, about Grenard. So Mikey, let me ask you. Do you see the Vikings trading Jonathan Grenard here during this whole free agency process?
I think it's probably a yes, unfortunately. I would like to see Grenard stay. But I think with the money talks and everything like that and him wanting to get paid more, while the emergence of Dallas Turner, like you said, like his last year was spectacular. Like everyone thought, year one, he was kind of like floundering almost towards a bust. And then he jumps out this year. What is he? I think he almost had double-digit sacks this year. I think it was like 8 or 9, somewhere around there. So yeah, I think just with what we have depth-wise at the outside linebacker position, you have Van Ginkel, you have Dallas Turner, you have some other players behind them as well. I think you just kind of have to toss it up and be like, we can't pay you. We just have too much talent, and we need to address other positions outside of just you. And like, while Grenard is a great player, do not get me wrong, he would be very welcome on this defense back if nothing pans out. But all signs lead to us trading him for like, I don't know, like a 3rd round pick sometime before the draft. Just to clear some cap for some eventual other moves, which is unfortunate, but it's just the nature of the business.
Yeah, hopefully, and I've been hearing too. It could go either way. But the one thing that I did hear, and I agree with, is if they trade him, I think the defense takes a little bit of a step down.
Yep,
Just for
absolutely.
because he's a locker room leader. And Voldy, what do you think? Jonathan Grenard, do you think he's going to get traded or nah?
I think it really all depends on the extenuating injuries, like we saw in the back half of the season too. He missed a lot of time, tried to push through, even in the stretch run for the Vikings, to at least get above 500 there. It just didn't really look the same. And of course, he is still capable enough to go out there and get a big enough contract. It's just that the Vikings don't have the money in the books right now to keep a guy like that around, and they're still playing around, of course, like we'd said with Dallas Turner too. Are we looking at Everson Griffin 2.0? First 3.5, 4 seasons? He was there, had some moments all in there, but at one point a switch just completely flipped, and Everson Griffin was probably, if not one of the top 5, he was a top 10 rush, edge defender for sure. And that's what the Vikings are looking at with the Dallas Turner. Things kind of really started to ramp up a little bit more this season. Of course, got to see a little bit more action out of him. But now you're going to try and put all your eggs into that basket right now. If they do and get rid of Grenard for some draft capital, would not be surprised. I'd really like to see him at least one more season if he's willing to stick things out, because, of course, having B-Flow back probably would be at least a good enough indication to say, okay, at least my coach is still here. I can at least give it another go here. I'm fully capable. Might be a different looking team, but with the pieces we have on both sides of the ball, could still be quite capable enough to at least surprise a few teams around the league.
So let's talk about the big news. Obviously, it's leaning towards the Minnesota Vikings probably signing Kyler Murray. No. There's been reports left and right about it. I have my thoughts on it, but I'm gonna, obviously wait until we're live tomorrow to kind of, hit on that. But since we have Mikey here and we're recording this and everything like that, I kind of want more of your thoughts on this. And it seems to me that the Vikings are very interested. Kyler's team is very interested come 3 o'clock tomorrow, or in this case today if you're watching it and whatnot, but it's confusing. Anyway, and the Vikings would only have to pay like $1 million or whatever, 1.9. Basically, the Cardinals are holding on to all that dough, and they're hoping right now that someone would trade for Kyler Murray or something like that, so they don't have that big of a cap hit. Well, too bad. That's what you're going to get. So it seems to me like all the dots are kind of connecting towards Kyler Murray, Mikey. What are your thoughts on this potential move? Obviously, Geno Smith traded to the Jets, so that's off the table now. Your thoughts on the Vikings potentially bringing in Kyler Murray? What do you got?
I'm not a fan. I think if you wanted to bring in a veteran, I know last year there was some contention / turmoil as why Adolfo Mensa got released this year with trying to either re-sign Darnold or bring back JJ McCarthy. I still think it was the correct decision to go with JJ because you drafted him for a reason. You tried to build the best team around him. There were injuries along the way. The progression just wasn't quite there. But he's only played like 10, 12 games in an NFL career. It's way too soon to write him off. And assigning Kyler Murray would essentially just tell the NFL, hey, the Vikings have given up on JJ McCarthy, essentially. And I think it's too early. Does JJ have a ton to improve? Absolutely. He needs to make leaps and bounds if the Vikings want to be a serious Super Bowl contenders next year. But Kyler doesn't get you there. Kyler gets you to the same place we were with Sam Darnold. We're going to probably win a bunch of regular season games, but Kyler's not playoff proven. I've seen what he looks like fumbling around in the end zone and just flipping it to some poor defender out there and just letting him walk in from the 3-yard line. He's kind of a proven commodity. Is he really good? Yes. Like his athleticism is second to none. His arm strength is there. His decision making is a little suspect here or there, but that could probably be fixed from the KOC system. Now, whether the KOC system works off the field so he can get off of Call of Duty double XP weekends, we'll see.
Got him.
But I just don't see how this works where you can kind of play both sides of it. And bringing in Kyler Murray isn't something to be like, oh, we got to get JJ some competition, because like you bring in Kyler Murray, he is automatically the number one starter. Like you can't make it where it's like, oh, they're both going to compete in camp. The expectation is going to be you brought in Kyler Murray, he's going to start and be your starter for the next X amount of years. And I'm not ready to give up on JJ McCarthy for kind of a known ceiling of like, hey, we'll be a playoff team, but he's not going to quite get you there to a Super Bowl unless you have the perfect team around him. And the Vikings have a really good team. I don't know if it's going to be the perfect team because that's just dependent on injuries and just kind of a coin flip throughout the season. So,
well, and again, I'll give you a little bit of details too on the specific contract that the Vikings would only have to pay. $1.3 million. That's all it would cost, which is financially it makes sense, right? Wouldn't you say?
Correct. Financially, it makes so much sense. But like again, you're gonna bring them in, and then every ESPN talking head is just gonna go off nonstop for the next 5 months about Kyler Murray is the number one quarterback and JJ McCarthy's a bust, and it's just gonna be a nightmare in terms of trying to listen to any Vikings talk until the season starts, essentially.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's probably what it's going to come down to. And it's there's so much to unpack with this whole thing, and it's insane to me how quickly this thing is getting just already. People are just like, oh, he's going there. It's like, all right, well, we'll see. Voldy, your thoughts on the potential of Kyler Murray being a Minnesota Viking?
I don't like it. It really sets a bad precedent here because we're just going forward yet going back at the same time. We're going 2 steps forward, 3 steps back in the process. You bring in a Kyler Murray, then we're back at the situation we were this past offseason with, do we re-sign Darnold? Do we go with J.J. McCarthy? Who's going to be our starting quarterback? We're going to go with the young kid or the proven guy that won us 14 games. Now, I'm just saying, with Kyler Murray, he does bring a different skill set that would be very interesting to see in a KOC offense, given with the weapons that he could potentially have with a Justin Jefferson, a Jordan Addison, a TJ Hawkinson as well, that frankly, Kyler hasn't had at all. Sure, he had D-Hop for a hot minute. He had A.J. Green in the back half of his career. He had Trey McBride for a good couple of years, too, that he was like the receiving threat of all receiving threats the last couple of seasons. But beyond that, doesn't have a running game. Suspect line of scrimmage as well with the offensive line. Not too much different from Minnesota, but escapability does help, and creating things downfield with a proven receiving core would be great to have for Kyler Murray. But we need to give J.J. McCarthy the full benefit of a doubt. Last season was, I don't care what anybody says, it was his second year. No, last season was his rookie season. And last time I checked, the Vikings were 5 straight wins in the tail end of the season as well. To get above 500, we were staring at 4-8 with 5 games left, and we won 5 straight games to go above 500 and not even finish in last place in the division. Let's talk about that. Sure, we were riding high on the pine, of course, of the Vikings, winning the division, getting to the championship game, maybe even making a Super Bowl appearance. That's why we have these bold conversations and bold predictions at the start of the year. I am putting my eggs in the basket of J.J. McCarthy being our starting quarterback, and he needs to know he is QB1 because last season he wasn't even sure if he was going to be making it on the field on a consistent basis with the knee injury, and of course the ankle injury in week 2 on top of it, battling through all of that, becoming a dad for the first time, illnesses, injuries, and just getting beat up week in and week out. Now he comes in full off season knowing that he is competing as an NFL starting quarterback. We might see a completely different JJ McCarthy, not only in training camp, but of course, leading up to week 1. A veteran quarterback, absolutely, we do need. A Kyler Murray would be fool's gold, I believe, for this Vikings team. And just saying, sure, it's a nice little fancy toy we've got here to play with, but at the end of the day, we're going back to the one that we know is going to work, and we know that's going to get us through those tough times. Kyler Murray, ooh, shiny, pretty. Let me pet that dog real quick. No. We need to go back. We need to go back to JJ McCarthy because we know through thick and thin he's going to be there. He's going to be there. I'm not nothing against Kyler Murray. Yeah. I'm sure he goes out and signs a veteran minimum somewhere else, or maybe whatever. I feel it's going to be in the best interest of Minnesota going forward. 3, 4, 5 years down the road, JJ McCarthy's our starting quarterback.
The question I asked to you, Mikey, before we get your free agent possibilities here, what would you say the plan B is right now for the Minnesota Vikings? Let's just say Kyler, the Jets are pretty much set right now. Let's just say Kyler goes to the Raiders because they want to give Mendoza some time or whatever. I'm just throwing out a scenario. I'm not saying that that's going to happen or he goes somewhere else. Mikey, what would you say the plan B is for the Minnesota Vikings if Kyler does not sign here?
Yeah, depending on how much money Kirk wants, I think it's got to be Kirk Cousins, right? The familiarity with the system and the coaches and his history with the team. It's just has to be him. I mean, the other option, like outside of Rodgers or like of Mr. Unlimited over there, would be like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think like being within like the Shanahan style ish offense and being with McVay, those couple of years. Those are really the two options I see that seem to fit best for the Minnesota Vikings while bringing in like kind of some competition in there, but also like a surefire veteran quarterback that's been around for forever, can teach JJ like the ins and outs of an offense that they know like the back of their hand. Like I don't even think handing them the playbook at this point is very fruitful for them because they just know it so well because they've lived it their entire lives, right? Those two quarterbacks. I would say plan B is Kirk Cousins. And then if Kirko doesn't want to come back, or if he chooses to retire because of the Achilles injury or whatever, then I would say Jimmy G. I don't really like any other option that's out there in free agency for the team. Everybody's either too young, too inexperienced, or just not good.
I think at this point it's either Murray or Kyler, Kirko, and then somewhere deep down in the depths of the NFL hell is Rodgers. I think that I'm leaning towards Kirko, but I'll talk about that more here in a little bit. So, Voldy, my question to you, same question. What do you think? Plan B.
It's got to be Kirk Cousins. I feel like at this point, him being back in Minnesota, obviously, the way things kind of ended the first go round, it didn't feel great. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of animosity from my perspective on the whole situation. Kirk wanted to go out and get his money. He got his money. Absolutely. He is nothing but financially secure in his time. But him coming back, maybe to be a contender or at least be in the mix there in the quarterback situation in the event that something should happen again to JJ McCarthy, I don't feel bad about having him as starting quarterback. It didn't go well the first year in Atlanta with Kirk Cousins. That's a given. Then they go with Michael Penix. He gets the bulk of starts. He gets hurt. Kirk Cousins filled in and was okay. Was he great? No, he was okay in an offense that really isn't suited to his needs, isn't really suited around it. The offense was suited towards Michael Penix, of course, a lot of shotgun, a lot of RPO, yada, yada, yada. But bringing him back to an offense that he has very well mastered, or at least is definitely will highlight his skill sets, will definitely greatly benefit JJ McCarthy, whether it be on the field, in the in the office as well, in the players room and everything, to just watching in the quarterback room, breaking down film, all that. It will be a benefit. Not saying that Kirk is going to come in and just be a straight mentor. Certainly his competitive edge will definitely want him to be, of course, the quarterback to lead the Vikings. But having him back, I would feel a lot better about having him as my backup quarterback than, say, Kyler Murray or Aaron Rodgers. Jimmy G, yeah, that would be interesting. Same kind of sort of offense, very similar with McVay, with Shanahan, with, of course, O'Connell as well. I would be somewhat okay, but I would definitely feel a hell of a lot more comfortable with Kirk Cousins, and that way we can still wear Kirk Cousins jerseys to Vikings games and on the show with great pride.
Hey, we can bring it back.
Oh my
Kirk
God.
O'Chill.
Kirk O'Chill.
I love it. More on that in a little bit. But, Mikey, one last thing. We need to get your ideal targets for the Minnesota Vikings here. I think we're going to see things ramp up. Obviously, we're recording this now. It'll be a lot after 3 o'clock. I feel like the Vikings will kind of let the Murray domino fall, and then they'll kind of go from there. But, Mikey, who are your targets in free agency here?
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple key positions and kind of just falling from there, like who's available. One that kind of just came off the board right before this that I want to talk about quickly was Elgton Jenkins, the former Packer. I thought that would have been a great fit, but he got snatched immediately. I was a little sad about that.
No,
You got robbed.
I know. It would have been a great fit. It would have been a great fit, but that's not
Dang
going to
it.
pan out, unfortunately. But one center that I do like that could fit well, depending on how much money he's willing to take, would be Lloyd Cushenberry, the former Titan center. Was there for a while, especially in the Derrick Henry years. Very good center. Probably could even be like a role player if you wanted to like basically take him on a low deal, if he wants to take low money and then try to go out in either the draft or anything else and try to see what's available there for offensive line position. I mean, we're pretty much solidified except for that one position at the offensive line, which is a rare opportunity for the Vikings. We have not been in this situation since maybe the Favre era of 09, 2010. Being this solidified at the offensive line. But I'm targeting him. I think he'd be a good fit within this system, especially since up front we'd need a lot more in the dominance in the run game now that we don't have Aaron Jones. We still do have Jordan Mason, very good running back. I assume he will be the number one going into camp unless something crazy happens in terms of the draft. But we just need a little more push up there, but he could slot right in. Then another player I am looking at, depending on the Harrison Smith thing, where either if he retires or comes back or anything like that, would be Andre Cisco. He's been he's a safety, kind of gone around the block in terms of what's been in the DB room. He started at corner, then went to kind of free safety, strong safety, kind of moved around a little bit between the Jets and Jacksonville. I think he was at Jacksonville for 4 years, and then he was just a Jet last year. Kind of more of a situational role player, I would assume he would be. Maybe not maybe a day one starter if like everything falls through and we just need a safety net type of thing, but definitely more of like he could fit in. He does play well. He does get exposed sometimes, I will say. Definitely don't want to do man-to-man, but more of like if you were trying to play cover 2 or zone or anything like that, he can definitely keep everything from going way over the top for for sure. And then the last one, if we're looking at wide receiver, and it might be a little bit more money than I think we're wanting to spend, but if we're like, hey, Ty Felton, if they just know he's not going to work out, go get Jauan Jennings. Jauan Jennings would be a great number 3 receiver for us. He killed it in San Francisco when they were going through all those injuries, and he was like basically the only fresh body out there. But I could see him coming in. The market's probably going to push him out of our range, unfortunately. I think he's asking for like 20 mil in terms of compensation total, which might put it out. But if we can get him on like a 3-year, maybe like 15 mil, if he wants to come join like a good wide receiver group, I think he would fit in just fine and be excellent at either the outside or the inside position for the Vikings.
I think that's a good point because, you want to find another wide receiver 3. Is that a big priority? I'd say center right about now. Safety, I think, is the big one because we don't know whether it's Smith. Watch, I'm gonna get an update literally right now or tomorrow. Harrison Smith coming back. It's happened on this show.
There it is.
There it is. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. But I like that. So Lloyd Cushenberry, Andre Cisco, Jauan Jennings. So we'll keep our eyes out for that and more signings that will probably be coming through here. Obviously, we'll be on Kyler watch and or Kirko watch if need be. So we'll see how that goes. But Mikey, thanks for taking the time to chat with us, NFL free agency frenzy. I know you're busy and everything like that, so we wanted to make sure we recorded this, got you on, talked a little free agency. A lot more to come, my friend, right?
Oh, yeah. The offseason's just starting. Can't wait for the draft. We got, 9 picks now with that compensatory pick?
Yeah. The third-round pick. Yeah, so it's another third-round pick, and you never know. Thanks, Mikey, and we'll talk to you as this all goes on.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on again, guys.
Hey, hello, welcome back, and we are live. Yes, we are live right now.
Yes,
we are. I mean, Voldy has the same wardrobe from a record. Mine's a little bit different and whatnot, so just wanted to tell people we're back live.
Continuity. I'm all about continuity.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Are they live? Is this recorded?
We know?
Is this the Matrix? Do we know?
Could be.
I don't know.
Yeah, could be. A couple of updates. Let's just piggyback of what we were just talking about. Right today, not too many noteworthy, like Vikings get a different player from another team or anything like that.
Right.
Mainly just speculation. But the big news out of Egan today, and literally it's like almost a stone throws away from where I'm at right now. Aaron Jones is back with the Minnesota Vikings. Yes. He took a pay cut. His, I think, $5.5 million. The Vikings really wanted him back. I think when they announced that they're probably going to release him, I think he had a $10 million cap hit, but the Vikings were able to cut that in half. So Rob Brzezinski, he cooked. He cooked again. Brzezinski knows how to deal with contracts. He finds ways. Shouts out to him. But Voldy, let's start with you on the current situation with Aaron Jones. Are we stoked that Aaron Jones is back Minnesota Viking? What do we got?
I do. I am very pleased that he is back here with the team. Of course, taking that pay cut shows that he definitely has a little bit more trust in the franchise right now than going out there and seeing what is out there. Obviously, he could go out and get his money somewhere else, but also at the same time, you look at how the season really unfolded for him with just, it seemed like he was good for maybe a quarter and a half, and you wouldn't see him until late third quarter, if not fourth quarter at all. And that's where we had to rely on our backups with Mason and also with Scott, as well as the running back situations. Injuries start to mount up a little bit in his career, but still very productive. He comes into into a training camp fully healthy. That will be a big difference maker for this team, and especially with an offensive line that's only going to get healthier, and hopefully a couple more pieces added in as the offseason, training camp, and obviously preseason going into regular season moves along. I definitely like the fact that we have that continuity, that bringing that word up again, that continuity coming out of the running back room right now.
Well, I brought this up last time too, Voldy, and I threw this out there after we recorded with you and Mikey about the running back situation. You still had Jordan Mason, and all signs were pointing like, oh, we're not going to have Aaron Jones. Maybe the Vikings take the picks that they currently have, move up, get Jeremiah Love. I think that's dead in the water right now. So I think we'll see what happens. Yeah, and the good news is that, like you said, it's continuity. And I think he is a locker room leader for this team. And I think you have to have that right now because there are many players that are on this team that want to win, and they want to win now. This team has the potential to do that. Now, there have to be a lot of things that they have to consider, too. They just released 2 defensive tackles that really didn't make too much of a difference. JavonHargrave, I felt, did a little bit more than Jonathanallen. Apparently, he didn't like the way Flores' defense was. But you know what? Tough. You know what? Why'd you sign here if you didn't want to be here in the first place? So there's that.
Right.
But I look at that. I look at the center position. Ryan Kelly officially retired, which, we all knew that was happening. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the Vikings made a couple other re-signings. They re-signed Andrew DePaula. DePaula's back, so shouts out to him being back with the purple. Our special team star, Tavier Thomas, he gets a 2-year deal, $4.6 million. I know a lot of Vikings fans weren't big on this re-signing because, yes, he had some screw-ups, but I trust the Vikings coaching staff enough to know, I've seen some good things from him too. So you can't just base it off a couple bad things, but I trust the Vikings in that regard, in regards to that. Obviously, we mentioned jamespierre, 2-year deal in our recording there, so we're very happy to have him as well. Another kind of big development, it kind of got thrown out there, but no one really, everyone kind of knew it would probably happen. Harrison Smith also released, per se. This situation is where the Vikings are probably still in contact. They're saying, look, take your time, but we just want to make sure we have that off the books. We'll try to, we can work out a deal to bring you back. So what are your thoughts on Harrison Smith being released from his current contract, Voldy?
Yeah, we just talked about it, of course, as the interview was going on. It's just all, I think at this point, it's really just, formalities and league issue stuff like, hey, we're just doing this because we have to, get the money off the books. And obviously, this is a league situation like, hey, we still want you back. I would certainly hope that's what the front office for the Vikings is throwing at right now. It's like, hey, we still want you, but we got to go through these hurdles right now. It's all a process, but I would certainly hope that Harrison would like to come back for one more season, especially, if he can still go, he can still go for sure. I think we saw a little bit more out of him in the tail end of the season last year, of course, with coming back from injury and just, trying to, stay as consistent as possible, but still an impact player in the locker room, especially too, with being a sound leader and captain for the defense is definitely something that this team could certainly need. And I'd really hope that he'd give it at least one more go for sure before it's all said and done.
That would be the hope, and I would thoroughly enjoy having him back for sure. I think having B-Flow back, it helps the chances of him coming back to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, when or where, I'm just throwing this out there. I mentioned it in the recording. I'm going to look at Twitter right now, or excuse me, formerly known as Twitter X, just to make sure there isn't a Harrison Smith signing. No, haven't gotten it yet.
Okay.
But you never know. We still got some time left here from now until then. So those are pretty much only the big things I can really talk about just currently. So the main thing, we got to talk about the main thing here, and that is Kyler Murray. Voldy, you touched on it in the recording with Mikey. Yeah. We are on Kyler watch. Look, multiple sources, Tommy P., Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, all the bigwigs, even Diana Rousseau. Yeah, I know. But it seems to me that the Vikings are very interested. Kyler Murray is having the official visit here in Minnesota tomorrow, even though I'm sure he's probably, I mean, if he's lost where he needs to go, I can show. I mean, you just come right down where I'm at, and I'll show you where you need to go. I'm just kidding. But the Cardinals officially released Kyler Murray. All signs are pointing to the Minnesota Vikings, Kyler Murray.
Yay.
Now it comes the time where I need to talk about this specifically. Here's where I'll start, Zoners and Voldy. I've said on this show, and it was probably a couple weeks before, that I wasn't a fan of the Vikings bringing in Kyler Murray. I feel, and this is just my opinion, that this isn't a schematic fit, and I don't necessarily think that this is the smartest move. Now, like Mikey said, and like you said, Voldy, in the recording, that Kyler Murray is going to be the starter if you sign him here. And
right.
I think from that perspective, I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings said it's going to be a competition, but they're probably, saying one thing, but internally they're like, it's probably going to be Kyler. Now, I don't want to discredit the fact that I still believe in J.J. McCarthy. I think this situation comes down to a couple things. One, the Vikings need to have a veteran presence in this locker room right now. There isn't enough veteran presence. Yes, I know, Carson Wentz was in for a little bit, but we don't know with that arm situation. I mean, that arm, it got roughed up against those Chargers back in the day there. So I'm not necessarily thinking that he's going to be like a quarterback 3 or are they going to stick with Brosmer? I don't know. We'll see. But I think that, at this point you can't be worried about feelings because, granted, J.J. McCarthy has some, things he's got to work on. It's that simple. He does have things he needs to work on, and he's had opportunities, and, he's missed a couple here or there. But we also need to make sure that he's getting the right coaching and working on his craft, and he is doing that. Let's clarify that right now. He is working to, right some of those things that, hurt him this past year with the mechanics, footwork, whatever that may be. But you saw flashes. You saw flashes of brilliance, of throws, situations where he is very athletic and he has some grit. And the guys enjoy playing with him. Jordan Addison just had his back not too long ago on the social medias. I think it was yesterday. people are like, oh, Kyler won't get you anything or whatever. 9 sucks and this and that. And he is defending J.J. McCarthy. 9's going to be, he's going to be a star, I think is what he said. And I still believe that, and I think everyone else does too. Now, the only way that I feel like this can change is if Kyler Murray is able to have a playoff run. If Kyler Murray can get this team to, let's just say, let's start low here. Let's go 11-6, right? So we'll go 11-6, and the Vikings go on a playoff run. Let's just say they get to the divisional round. They have to play in the wild card because the NFC is getting tough out there with all these signings and whatnot. So I think that would be the indication. But the issue that I have is, people are complaining about JJ's injuries. Well, let's not forget Kyler Murray has some of those too. Now, the height thing and get used – I'm just saying get used to all these height jokes that people throw at Kyler Murray and Call of Duty and everything like that because, we're going to be getting that. But if the team is winning and they're winning in big games, that won't matter. It won't matter. So I trust the coaching staff at this point. They pretty much got rid of, I would say, over half of the guys from free agency last year. You still have Will Fries, who I still think is a great signing. You don't have Kelly. You don't have Hargrave. You don't have Allen. But you still have guys that are coming off kind of an injury-plagued season with Darrisaw, Donovan Jackson, but he was only a rookie, but he'll start to get going too. So I think we all agreed on this. We all agree on this from this perspective, is that we aren't huge fans of this move. If that were to come, I mean, we haven't gotten official word. I've been checking the Twitter machines as much as possible right now, but let's just not sit back and say to ourselves like, this is terrible. This isn't going to turn out the way that you think. It's like I don't think so right now. And again, this is me being a little pessimistic, not optimistic, but I don't know if this is going to work. KOC has a lot on the line. He has a ton on the line from this decision now. Last year was kind of the whole deal of people not being in sync, especially the coaching staff, with the front office. And that is an issue in itself. So this is a big decision that they need to make. Now, it's not just Kyler Murray and this situation and whatnot, and I still think that JJ can still be that guy, Voldy, but I don't necessarily think that you give up on JJ if Kyler plays a whole season and he's kind of, you just, if you see the signs of this is breaking down, you still have JJ you can fall back on. So there's that. And then Jonathan Grenard. Jonathan Grenard right now is on the trade block. The Eagles are trying to pursue him as best they can. I think the Vikings are saying, look, this is our price to get him. This is what you need to get. I think it has to be at least their first round pick. I think it's going to be tough to sell, but you never know. You never know what might happen with that situation. So as it stands right now, Voldy, what are your thoughts with Jonathan Grenard? Do you think that he's probably going to Philly?
Let's do that. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Looking at the situation here with Jonathan Grenard, I just think that if there's anything Philadelphia has, it's a surplus of linemen and of course the linebacking core. It's what they've made their bones about the last few years, especially going back to that first Super Bowl run that they had when they lost to the Chiefs. Then they go and of course win as well against the Chiefs. They had just depth at the linebacking core, depth at the edge rusher as well in between. Adding a guy like Jonathan Gennard would be just insane for Philly to do. But at the same time, would they turn and flip one of their guys that they've had and maybe get some draft capital, maybe get another player on the back end that could find depth? I really don't. I really hope it's not Philly, because that's just the last thing that I need to worry about is now
Yeah, true.
more pieces for Philadelphia to make another serious run, especially after the year that they had where they were more about fighting themselves than actually fighting on the field in competition, I should say, competitively fighting as opposed to physically fighting, because, well, they do that regardless whether on the field or in the locker room. But, just the conversations taking place, I wouldn't be shocked as well, especially after last year and now the changeover in the front office, that they basically just scrapped the whole thing that they had last year, and obviously letting go Hargrave, letting go Allen, and of course, a few other guys that they've bought and traded pieces for as well. That they just flush the roster that they have and try to build something that they have, even after where they were 2 years ago compared to last year of just cutting bait and trying to start fresh. I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan Grenard does get traded. I just really hope he doesn't.
I think we're on the same page in regards to that, because I think, like we said, locker room leader. He's a guy that I think everyone wants to be around. Very positive guy. Great with the media too, as well.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully that's not the case. Maybe the Vikings work out a deal where there's an extension, or there's like some type of not a pay, a pay upgrade or whatever. Just something that can give him, a little bit. Because I understand why he's frustrated. I get it. Because you see all these guys getting all these big deals and whatnot, and he wants to get paid. I get it. But we just don't have that right now, especially if they're trying to add more guys to this roster. And right now it doesn't seem like they're very super active. But again, they're trying to figure out who is going to be that veteran QB. And right now it is Kyler Murray. Now, I don't necessarily think I'm not a huge believer in it, in this whole thing. But you know what? The person I trust in this mostly is Kevin O'Connell. He did some work on who they would bring in as a veteran quarterback. And apparently right now the best available guy that you can get is Kyler Murray, according to him. Now, Kirk Cousins is out there. I think that it would be a little bit better if you had Kirk, because I think you gotta. The question is, Kirk and his agent know how to work the market per se, and I don't want the Vikings having to pay a bunch of money to bring Kirk back as a backup, because I just don't see that happening. But the Vikings are saying, okay, we got to get this right. We have to get this right and win a couple playoff games, because if we can't figure it out, people are going to lose their jobs, and I don't want that to happen, because I still think KOC he knows he can craft a team. It's just, was Kwesi holding them back? Maybe. I don't know the full extent to that whole situation, but we'll have to see how this all pans out. Voldy, I just think when it comes to game one, if Kyler Murray is the starter, I think throughout the season he has to prove to not only himself, but to the NFL in general and Minnesota Vikings fans that, he still has enough in the tank and can adapt the way he plays too. So, Voldy, my question to you is this. I mean, do you think Kyler Murray will convince us that he can be the future of the Minnesota Vikings? What do you think?
I mean, this year is a prove it or lose it year for Kyler Murray, whether it be with the Vikings or it be somewhere else. All signs pointing towards him being with the Vikings. He'd signed the veteran minimum for this season. And if he goes out and produces like we know that he can in this league with his legs, with his arm, extending plays, moving the ball downfield with some really good receivers that he has been lacking over the years, like we talked about in the interview with Mikey, I don't see why he couldn't. Now, would it be a situation where we were at this time last year? Do we re-sign Sam Darnold? Do we let him go? Do we let the kid go after it and be our starting quarterback? I feel like if Kyler Murray has a year like he's had in the very early stages of his career. Now, the last couple of years, last couple of years have been ones to forget for sure, given the injuries, given the off the field issues as well, with him not watching film and spending more time on Call of Duty. Would it be in the Vikings' best interest to sign him long term? Because it's not exactly like he's an old aging quarterback. Sure, he's probably getting into the little bit more prime of his career, if not in the back half of his playing career. But you can certainly make the argument after what the Vikings saw with Sam Darnold, going from a cast off to now Super Bowl champion, the Vikings would definitely do something as crazy. This has happened once before. We're not letting it happen again. Sign the man long term, and we'll figure out what to do with JJ if it's going to be trade bait situation, maybe get a couple of picks, maybe a first rounder or two, maybe another player of high caliber that is soon to be free agent down the road. I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings did something like that based off of what track record has happened in most recent years, and the Vikings don't want to be made a fool of again in that situation.
Fair enough. And I think you learn your lesson from that. Now the question is, after the draft, who are you bringing in as GM? I mean, are you going to stick with Rob, which I would be fine with? I think so far I haven't had any issues. It seems to me next Wednesday, we're going to be talking about Kyler Murray, Minnesota Vikings. We'll have kind of more on that. We got to see if it happens. I mean, a lot can happen between now and then. So let's, I've been looking at the Twitters as much as possible. Nothing's really happening. But when I say that, it's just going to happen right away. So, nothing too much going on right now. We'll keep an eye on some things in regards to that. And see if the Vikings make any moves. And I think right now, they're just kind of going through the whole free agency frenzy, and they're not overspending. They're not, doing what they did last year. And I know last year, Voldy, you and I talked about it. Last year we said Kwesi cooked. And honestly, if you look at it, you would assume that he did. Some of those guys aren't on the roster anymore, unfortunately, but Will Fries is still here. That's a good sign. And it just kind of shows like, hey, sometimes if you spend a lot in free agency, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a contender right away always.
Right.
That I think that kind of throws that up there. So, that being said, that'll do it for Free Agency Frenzy. Any updates, breaking news, I will interrupt and go from there. So obviously no special segment tonight, but we have Absurd or Approve. We've got a lot of Absurd or Approves. Outside of the Vikings, apparently Max Crosby was going to be a Raven, and then the Ravens were like, nah, we good. A lot to talk about in regards to that. And apparently President Trump is going to save college sports, apparently, NCAA, NIL deals, stuff. We'll talk about that. NCAA, to keep an eye on the refs in the tourney here coming up, March Madness. More on that towards the end of the show, just FYI, too. And then to round things off, Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano, They are fighting in May, and it's turning out to be a pretty good card so far too. Apparently, there's another one that they just announced, so we'll talk about that. So let's get it going. What's up? Absurd or approved?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we stick in the world of the NFL with the free agent frenzy, as we are talking about. But one of the big moves that came through towards the start of this past weekend was the Baltimore Ravens acquiring five-time Pro Bowl defensive end Max Crosby from the Raiders for their first round picks for this upcoming draft, as well as 2027. Now, that was the deal coming into Friday night, and we were living in a world that weekend of Max Crosby being a Baltimore Raven after a couple of lackluster seasons for the Raiders, I should say, not for Max Crosby, but came through the pipeline as of last night. The Las Vegas Raiders said that the Ravens have, quote, backed out of the trade agreement that would have sent Max Crosby to Baltimore for those first round picks. Now, at the time of said announcement that came out late Tuesday night, there was no further comment. But as reports did start to come in, there was concerns about the possible medical history and also not being able to perform well enough for his physical for Max Crosby, thus backing out on the trade. So as of right now, Max Crosby is still a Las Vegas Raider, but would not be very attuned if another team would draw some interest. Now, of course, the Raiders on Monday were big time spenders. They did bring in, of course, Tyler Linderbaum, a center on a 3-year, $81 million contract. They also strengthened their defense by bringing in Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean, Kwity Paye, Eric Stokes, and Malcolm Kuntz as well, while also throwing in former Minnesota Viking Jalen Naylor, hardly even nowhere as well. But that also being thrown in, of course, with the additions of those players, plus Crosby back in the fold, but maybe a little bit more animosity between the two sides of the Ravens and the Raiders and Max Crosby. But a simple question, whether or not how the season folds or maybe this free agent frenzy, where will Max Crosby play the 2026 season?
Well, there's been a couple teams, and those couple teams, unfortunately, them possibly being like the Chicago Bears or apparently the Lions have cleared up a lot of cap space now because they restructured Jared Goff. Sorry. But it's going to be tough because there's probably a lot of teams that are vying for him right now. I think, obviously, I was taken aback by it because I think literally after we hopped off, after we recorded our segment, we both got that update and we're just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell just happened? And we're just like, oh, it's like medical-wise and everything. And it turns out he failed the physical and they're worried about the knee. My question is, you flew him out there and, you know, the anticipation saying like, oh, we want him here and take a physical, I'm sure he'll pass it, no problem. Well, that's not what happened at all. And they said, is this worth giving up that many picks? And, you know, for this situation, they didn't think so. And they said, you know, we're out. The one thing that gives me pause a little bit, and I don't know how much I believe this, but I think his name's Eric DaCosta, for the GM for the Ravens. He had a press conference, and he said that, he said, we're trying to get him and everything like that, but I feel, I'm gutted by this whole situation. But then you come to find out that they were still talking to Trey Hendrickson even when he was in the building. Max Crosby was in the building. So
Yikes.
so it's like so explain that. And they're like, oh, we wanted them both. We wanted them both. When Linderbaum left, we you know, the center left for the Raiders. You know, we wanted both those guys. You wanted two defensive ends that would eat up a ton of cap space. And I know Lamar Jackson restructured his and everything like that. But how are you going to work that? I don't understand how that would work. There's some happening behind the scenes here, I think, and there's something weird. It's really funky. But have we even heard from Max Crosby at all on the situation? I mean, oh my God, it's been a whirlwind of speculation on this topic specifically. But I for him going to a team, like, you're going to have to say, okay, you know what, we're going to pay for it. We're going to bank that the knee's going to be okay. He's got to pass the physical. You have, anytime that somebody, you know, is going, like a free agent or a trade or something like that, they have to pass the physical in order for the trade to be complete. And I think the team that has the strongest chance to get Max Crosby, I think it could be them even him staying put for a year and saying, look, my knee's going to be all right, I'll prove it to you. And then he plays and he has a monster season, which could happen. We don't know. And then the Ravens are sitting back like, oh, crap, we could have had both of them, even though I don't know how they would work that. There's been a lot of links of him going to Detroit, Chicago. Obviously, that's all in division, which we don't like. I think the Eagles probably are kicking the tires on that too. If they don't get the Grenard stuff, I mean, that's another factor into this as well. Give me Dallas. I'll go Dallas. And the reason why I say Dallas, Voldy, is because this is a Jerry type of guy. This is a guy that Jerry's going to be like, I don't care how much we give up, we're going to get Max Crosby. And I think this is a situation to where either Cowboy fans are going to riot or they're going to praise Jerry for finally doing something about it. So give me Dallas. I'll go Dallas. So we'll see how that pans out. But Voldy, what do you got?
I like it. I mean, I look at just how everything really went from an absolute high to an absolute low. I mean, we were looking coming into this weekend of this past weekend of saying, okay, now with Max Crosby on for the defense for the Ravens, I mean, they're going to win the AFC North. That was going to be the question that I was going to throw out to you with Max Crosby on defense. Now it's just like, okay, the Ravens, sure, they go out and get Trey Hendrickson, who's no slim chicken himself. He is definitely a very, very good defensive end too, and finally out of that cesspool of insanity that is not Baltimore, but Cincinnati. Now going to Baltimore, where there's a little bit more stability when it comes to who's flipping the bill for the pay and everything too. With Crosby, of course, the real big thing, him 8 weeks out of surgery for the meniscus tear in his knee, which apparently was a little bit more significant than most people probably let on. And of course, he just got off crutches this past week, believe it or not, at the time of the conversation that had taken place. And of course, the trade that went through. The Ravens have always been a team that have always taken things up to the very last minute before backing out of a deal due to medical concerns. So I'm not surprised by that. Now, when it comes to Crosby and his playing situation for the upcoming season, I could very well see just this season letting things play out in Vegas. And it could very well be that he goes out and balls this year and has another great season for the Raiders and then just walks away basically from that point and saying, look, you either pay me the money that I deserve or I'm going to go out and get another big contract elsewhere. But I feel like now with him, he did say goodbye to Vegas and of course talking about how he was excited for the new journey in Baltimore. He's got one foot out of the door in Vegas, but him being a consummate player and of course the guy for his teammates and everything, I could see him sticking around in Vegas for at least one more season, or at least, just given where he is, because he's already a member of the team as of this very minute. Wouldn't be surprised he plays one more
Right.
year before he ends up going somewhere else. So I think he'll stay in Vegas for another year.
It wouldn't shock me, and I think that's probably where they're leaning towards. But it's the NFL. I mean, there's always a way that a team can slip in and say, "Hey, we'll give you this deal," and then they're like, "Oh, okay," and then they do it. So a lot to factor in. It's just like we say every year, free agency frenzy, stuff that you don't expect to happen happens. So that's. We'll keep an eye on if Maxcrosby goes. Hopefully not the Bears. Hopefully not the Bears or the Lions. Please, God, no. I don't need Mitch here on our socials medias bragging about how they got Max Crosby.
Yeah.
Don't need it. Don't need it. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Headed in the world of college sports, and it's now taken to an executive chair role, if you will, with the possibility of help and clarifying and clearing out many things that are going wrong with college sports as of late. Now, after a roundtable discussion that was held for the Saving College Sports Roundtable of 50 people from varying backgrounds of sports celebrities, politicians, media executives, conference commissioners, yada, 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 President Donald Trump said this past Friday that he will write an executive order within a week that will, quote, solve all the problems brought forth in an unprecedented meeting that took place to address the future of college sports. Of course, everything the last few years since at least 2019 with name, image, and likeness, NIL, the transfer portal, the craziness with schedules and conference championships, the college football playoff, that those being the really big things, and of course other things that have taken place, but everything coming to a head of no real rules or regulations when it comes to solidifying what is and what isn't happening with college sports. You take all that, and of course, the names that have been thrown out as well, with, of course, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, New York Yankees President Randy Levine, Florida Governor Ron DeSantos, Charlie Baker, the NCAA President, Commissioners, the ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, the American Conference, and including Notre Dame Athletic Director, former coaches Nick Saban, and also Urban Meyer, all voicing what needs to happen in order to fix what is going on with college sports. Now, with all that taken into mind, the conversation taking place, let's throw President Donald Trump into the mix. Is it absurd or approved? Would an executive order from President Trump be the necessary means to fix the issues with college sports?
Well, when I heard Urban Meyer was involved, I instantly thought this. That's all I can really say. Here's what I'm going to say on this. The NCAA, we all agree, NCAA, it's broken. It's they don't know what they're doing half the time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We've talked about it at length. But this situation, now they gathered all the necessary parties for this, and they decided that, we got to go to the president for this, and it'll be signed within the week, and this and that, and how it's all going to pan out. And this is this isn't like I'm taking one political side or the other here, because this isn't a political show. This is a sports show. And whatever opinion that I give here, don't judge me on that because you're left or right or everything. No, I'm just literally just saying what I think from this. And here's what I say specifically. I think that this whole executive order, they have to have a well thought out plan, for one.
Right.
I think this indications of this hearsay, and Nick Saban's very well respected and everything like that. I understand that, but Trump signing this executive order, with all these ramifications in place, I just don't see how they're going to come up with a plan within a week.
Right.
This is, it's going to solve all the problems. And again, no matter what you think or what side you're on the political aisle or anything like that, you got to take what Trump says with a grain of salt sometimes here. And it's time's ticking, literally. I have a clock right in front of me, by the way, about to get this done. I agree that this plan needs to be well thought out and well put together. You can't figure this out within a week. You can't. There is too many variables in this situation. The transfer portal, the NIL, everyone, especially the donors and the schools, the universities, and everything like that. Who are you going to put restrictions on and this and that? I get sick and tired of talking about this because the NCAA is so disorganized. I agree. Again, things need to be changed. They do. I understand that. But they're not going to be figured out within a week. I'm going to say absurd because I don't believe that this is going to be figured out from within a week, because you have all these variables like that, like I mentioned, and I don't see it happening. And also, looking at it, I bet you there's a lot of issues coming out of whatever order that they have or rules and everything like that, and it's going to fall flat on its face. It's got to be well thought out. So that's just my opinion on it. Voldy, what do you got?
There's just too many variables right now out there, just depending on sport and conference, really, that you can't 100% nail down. Heck, even boil it down, even from sport and conference, even down all the way to, to certain colleges and universities. Some colleges and universities have bigger collectives of NIL compared to others. So what is going to make that all encompassing into one executive order from the president to say, nope, this is what's happening. This is the land, the law of the land, and you have to follow it. I'm sure there's going to be much pushback, and I don't think it's something that's going to happen overnight, and not something that's going to just take place over the next couple of months, if that, to really solidify everything into place. I don't think an order from the president is going to be the final nail in the coffin for this, because there's going to be pushback, there's going to be pleas, and there's going to be edits and things of that sort as well, that are going to push this thing back for years to come. By the time it's probably all said and done, we're looking probably 10 or so years down the road before it actually happens, well after President Trump is out of office. On top of it, is it going to be the means to fix college sports? No, I think it's completely absurd. I don't think this is going to be anything more than what it is, and just us talking about it, and just more conversation taking place before anything actual is used to fix these ongoing issues that just continue to present itself.
You got to get somebody that's going to put the NCAA in its place. And to be quite honest, I don't think that's with the president. That's just my opinion on it. So, all right. Next one, Voldy.
Well, the NCAA this week announced that it will be monitoring its officials through the men's and women's basketball tournaments, based off of course, the basketball, baseball, and softball championships, with a technology by Integrity Compliance 360, or IC360. The technology is called Prohibit, that cross-checks identification data that is anonymous with sports books to flag impermissible bettors, that being the officials that are on the court and on the field. Now, it has worked with sports leagues and sports books in the past as well, to track the betting market. Of course, over the years that we have seen officials that have made certain decisions, whether to place bets or to cook the books a little bit here with certain calls, or shaving points on top of it, to sway certain bettors, and then ultimately they get the kickbacks for it in the process. With more than 220 officials, including alternate referees that will work the basketball tournaments alone, this will obviously be something to worth note of, is certainly with the number of calls that can go either way for a certain team, how a team makes it through one round through the next. Of course, over the years that we have seen with officials getting into hot water with, of course, them getting into betting issues and the rise in sports betting over the last handful of years. Is it absurd or approved? Will we see this technology be implemented through the NCAA? Of course, this year it is going to be through the basketball, baseball, and softball tournaments. Will we see this technology thrown into the NCAA within the next 3 years?
If it works, that's kind of the main thing. But I will say this: I'm glad that they're looking into this because, I mean, didn't Chauncey Billups get arrested for kind of something in regards to? I mean, it's more NBA, I get that, but
right,
it's still relevant to this type of thing because who knows what's going on? I mean, the referees have done this before in the past, and if it comes down in the tourney because, they're trying to shave points or this and that, and they're trying to affect games, look, they should be keeping track of that even more so now, and I'm glad that they're kind of starting to do that. The issue that I have with it, and I think it's the execution and how that can all combat that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and I hope that this should be implemented in other sports too. I mean, you look at the NFL. I think that's a prime example, and again, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories or anything like that, but I think you could, you could find some stuff there. But especially with this popular tourney that is March Madness. You have to make sure that everyone is, it's down the middle, right down the middle, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Are you going to miss calls? Sure. Yeah, you're going to miss calls. It's going to happen. But if it's on a continuous cycle, and we've seen it before, if it's on a continuous cycle, that kind of proves like, hey, there's something wrong here, right? And I think them implementing this shows, hey, this needs to, we got to make sure that everything is fair and right down the middle. The best team wins, and go from there. Yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. I think this technology should have been added, years ago, to be quite honest. And people are going to find ways to bet, and if you do it responsibly and obviously smart. If you're, betting on these games, and there's going to be a fair amount of people that will. And right. I just think that this should have been implemented a little bit earlier. Keep it going, and just make sure that everything is fair and right down the middle is my thing. So, stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I can definitely see this get implemented within the next 3 years based off of hopefully what comes out of these tournaments this spring coming into the summer as well, because obviously the gross increase of sports betting and sports gambling that has reached all the levels, of course, with professional leagues now down to the college levels and getting further down beyond that, it's not surprising that some sort of monitoring and tracking will take place. You just would have hoped that would have happened sooner. Of course, long since the days of Tim Donaghy cooking the books for some of those NBA games, and of course certain calls that have gone over the years that have led to, of course, these huge gambling rings and busts that have taken place. You wish it would have happened a heck of a lot sooner, just to keep the sanctity of the game and keep the money out of these sports as well, because just about everything nowadays you can put a bet on and you can win money off of it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I would much rather keep my money and buy it on stupid things as opposed to gambling and lose it on whether a guy makes a three-pointer or not.
Unless you're Moser.
It's got my stamp. Exactly. No offense. Hey, live your life.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just had to.
You're not married. Just do you, boo boo. Shout out Mo's daddy as well. Big help in many areas. But within the next 3 years, absolutely. It's got my stamp of approval. I feel like once we'll see what happens here through the college basketball tournaments, I think that will definitely point it in the right direction to say, hey, let's make this a regular thing, and it'll do hopefully good things for college sports going forward.
Very interesting, and I think this is you got to implement this with all the betting going on now. Voldy, are you ready? Are you ready for this? It's not. I mean, it's something, but it's not huge. But we gotta rep our guy, Tommy P. Tom Pelissero. I swear, this Tommy P. If you want info, accurate, smart info, go to Tommy P. Tom Pelissero at Tom Pelissero on X. He said he just spoke to Kyler Murray's agent, Eric Burkhart, who tells me Murray plans to Zoom tonight and tomorrow with executives from 3 to 5 teams that potentially have a QB need in 2027, a chance to reintroduce himself to people he hasn't seen since the 2019 draft, and get a jump start on his free agent process a year from now. He says this: in the meantime, Murray and Burkhart are flying to Minnesota tonight and plan to meet with the Vikings tomorrow. He says on Thursday. The Cardinals still owe Murray $36.8 million fully guaranteed. So it's just like easy money that he's going to be pocketing there, which is subject to offsets. So if all goes well, a 1-year minimum deal could come together quickly. So again, it's trending towards what we think it's going to trend towards, him being a Minnesota Viking. But we'll keep an eye on things that could change. He's going to be zooming with some teams. I wonder what those teams are, to be quite honest with you, Voldy. I'm very curious to know. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it and keep you informed. So, all right, the last one, Voldy.
All right, so we head to the world of mixed martial arts, and 2 heavyweights and titans that have put forth the MMA world on their backs during their times are set to take to the octagon coming up here later this spring. Of course, in the month on Netflix, it will be Ronda Rousey against Ginacarano, May 16th, which is going to be billed as one of the biggest fights that can be made in mixed martial arts, of course, after lengthy retirements, and now, of course, their long-awaited showdowns. Of course, for those that remember, in the early aughts, the early to mid-2000s, Ginacarano was the face and helped be one of the pioneers of mixed martial arts for the women's side. Then came Ronda Rousey, who took it to the next level and, of course, made it thus more mainstream and translated to her success in Hollywood and, of course, being a spokesperson and also her brief run in the WWE. Now, the fight is going to be taking place on Netflix, of course, with the likes of Jake Paul footing the bill for that. Also, of course, some other fights set to take place also on top of it, with, of course, both of these returning to MMA after, like I said, lengthy retirements and, of course, other ventures that they've gone through over the time. But looking at the matchup, Ronda Rousey and Ginacarano, I should say, who do you think will most benefit from this fight, whether it be a win or a loss? Who benefits the most from this matchup coming up here in May?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Obviously, this fight is something that needs to deliver. And what I mean by that is the last time this went down, the Tyson versus Paul thing, that was, and I quote, a shit show. That was terrible. The streaming was bad. People could barely even watch it. The fighting wasn't good either. Why Mike Tyson was even in that ring is still a question that remains weird. You saw his ass hanging out for some reason during that. It was bad. It was really bad from that perspective. But I don't give a crap about Jake Paul. I don't care about Jake Paul. I want this to deliver, and I want this fight to be entertaining. Now, it seems to me that Ronda personally reached out to Gina Carano, and it seems like they're, kind of like buddy-buddy type of thing, which makes me a little concerned because it's like, I want to see, like, you two trying to win. Not like, oh, I'll punch you here, and then you just punch, no. We want a full-out brawl. We want to see some fighting going on. So I don't understand why, Jake Paul being involved in this the whole thing. And, I mean, just get this guy out of here. He's not even a real fighter, It's just, and when he went against real fighter, he got his ass kicked. I don't care about focus on Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano, and I believe that there's another matchup that is happening as well that was big as well. So, as for who I want to win, I mean, both of them are legends in their own right. I mean, Gina Carano is one of the. Well, I mean, it was before Ronda Rousey. She was fantastic, and now we're actually getting to see this fight. Who's going to benefit most? It seems like Gina Carano. She said that she is, she's married. They live in Montana, kind of more secluded. And Ronda Rousey, we didn't hear much. Her exit from WWE didn't go well, to say the least. A lot of issues going on there. I'm going to say Ronda just because I think that she wants to try and kind of get that notion of, like, the whole WWE deal off her back. And, Gina Carano, I think that'll help. I mean, she was in some movies and everything like that, and there was some controversy surrounding that. We won't get into that. But I think it would probably be more Ronda. Who do I think's going to win? I don't know. I'm torn. I'm literally torn on this. I'm gonna go Carano. Why not? I'll go Carano on this. And if it sounds like Lucas wants Rousey, which I wouldn't surprise me either. I bet she could probably win. And Carano's been out for long time now too. So, but I think they're going to come ready, and it's going to be. Hopefully, it is entertaining. I think it will be entertaining. It's definitely going to be better than Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Good Lord. So yeah, I'll take Gina Carano for the dub though. I'll go with that. Voldy, who do you got?
You look at both of these fighters, pioneers in their own time, and especially, when I first got into the MMA, or at least, saw a couple of things here and there. One of the first names I saw, it's, Gina Carano. Okay, yeah, she's pretty good. She's a decent enough fighter. I mean, I certainly watched, those early days back when it was, the UFC was on Spike TV. WEC was on, I think, like the Outdoor Network Versus channel back in the day as well. Great innocent times that we had back then. And of course, corporatization kind of ruins everything down the road as well. But getting back to the main point, you look at this matchup between both of these fighters. A lot of people probably don't even remember that Gina Carano was an MMA fighter. I think with this here matchup, of course, with it still being between Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. I think Gina Carano is going to be the one that most benefits from this because, you look at how things develop post-career as well, when she became an actor, tried to be a spokesperson, ended up being on, The Mandalorian, gets kicked off of Disney for some unsavory comments after that, not getting into that as well, thus getting to be canceled, as that was the hot thing back in the 2020s, if you will, or at least the early portion of the 2020s was canceling people. Now you look at that she's trying to build a little bit more goodwill and hopefully a little bit more grace towards it, and just trying to remind people again that she was a fighter to start off, and trying to get that billing once again. I don't know how much training she has done post career as well, in between jobs. I mean, Gina Carano's 44 next month, hasn't fought in 17 years. 2009 was her last fight that she had. That is a long, long time out of the octagon as well. While 39-year-old Ronda Rousey, of course, now having children, hasn't fought in an MMA ring since 2016. But of course, also, with her time in the WWE, still being very quite still being quite athletic in that process as well. I think in total, I think Gina Carano is going to be the one that mostly benefits, is going to be the biggest beneficiary out of all this. Now, when it comes to the fight here, I think Ronda Rousey is gonna take this fight. Nothing against Gina Carano, but Ronda Rousey, of course, in her time was still a very dominant
Sure.
force, even in the times when she did lose. Still very competitive and took it all the way to the bitter end. Of course, we all remember probably the Holly Holm Ronda Rousey fight.
Yeah.
I certainly remember watching that in a hotel room down in Arizona during our spring break trip. That was fun. I'll go no further details off of that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Rousey gets the win, but Gina Carano is going to remind people that she was one heck of a fighter in her time and still be very quite competitive. I think Carano is going to be the biggest recipient out of all of this, and in the beneficiariness out of it all.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know. It's going to be much better than Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. I'm excited.
We all know Mike Tyson could have kicked Jake Paul's ass, but that paycheck was way too good to turn down.
That's right. And well, them not figuring out the stream. Oof. That's brutal. Very brutal. So anyway, that being said, great job with ARAs this week of Voldy. Had a little bit of breaking news, nothing too big with kylermurray. He's on his way to Minnesota as we speak, doing some Zoom meetings. We'll see how that all pans out. So, Shield shoutouts tonight. We got to get to some Shield shoutouts. It's been a week, so I say we get it going with some Shield shouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who ya shout out tonight?
Well, first things first, we do have to send a big happy birthday. Celebrating today is my beautiful bride, the creative consultant for MinneZona Sports Live, the mother of Case and Tate, the purveyor and provider of this household, of course, that we now have in the new Granite City studios that found us this house that we live. It is Mrs. Sarah Ann Tuesvold celebrating a birthday today. So happy birthday to my beautiful, lovely wife. And a big Shield shout out as well to the Granite City Lumberjacks players. We had 8 guys come over a couple Sundays ago to help us move some of the furniture and a lot of the big stuff from our apartment to the garage into a house as well that we're all still trying to get unpacked and settled into as well. So big thank you to those guys here as they get ready for the West Division playoffs coming up here this weekend as well. Big Shield shout out to the Thrill, Kirillkaprizov, becoming the Minnesota Wild's all-time goal scorer, 220 goals, surpassing Marian Gaborik as the franchise leader in goals scored. And sadly, we finish off Shield shoutouts here this week with the untimely and unfortunate passing of former college football coach and as for 2 seasons with the Minnesota Golden Gophers, Louholtz, who passed away last week. Only a coach for the Gophers for a couple of seasons. Holtz was very well known in his coaching career, winning 249 career games at the collegiate level and including a national championship in 1988, and also finished off his career as head coach at the University of South Carolina in the tail end of his coaching career. But a lot of people, of course, probably remember Coach Holtz for being a major fixture in college football on Saturdays on your screens for ESPN, whether it was halftime updates, college football scoreboard, and of course, college football final, him and Mark Meg battling it out in between with Reese Davis as the host. Sadly, a fixture of college sports lost this past week with the passing of Coach Louholtz. And that is going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Love it. Yeah, I heard about that news. There are a lot of stories brought up about Louholtz. Only 1 year with the Gulfs, unfortunately, which Notre Dame came swooping in after him. And,
of course they did.
that's what happened. So, yes, RIP to him. Congrats to the Thrill. Kirill the Thrill. The Wild are on fire right now. They won 5-0 against the Mammoth last night. They're looking really good. They are looking really good. And, we'll talk about the Wolves next week. But Granite City Lumberjacks, shout out to them for helping you guys out. And happy birthday, happy birthday to Sarah Ann Tuzvold, our creative consultant. The person who brought up the segment Tater Tot. Hot take, yes. You know it. So, with that being said, Voldy, it's been a while that haven't done anything that's like a fantasy football or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I think it's time to do something a little fun, don't you think?
I think so.
March Madness is coming up. I think we should do a MinneZona bracket challenge. Yes, we are going to do a MinneZona bracket challenge. We will have the details here sometime this week, and then you guys just can fill it out. I think if you have your ESPN account, you can just go right in. We'll give you the links and everything like that. All you got to do, fill out your bracket. That's all you got to do. Selection Sunday is the Sunday, obviously. And, we'll get that out to you guys, and you guys just fill out those brackets, see who wins, and we'll determine what you can win as prizes. So there's a couple options that we will be discussing. So, we got that coming up, and also we got merch. If you guys are like, you know what? I'm sick of this winter, but I need something to keep me warm. Well, we've got the stuff for you. We got the Quarterzips. We've got the sweatpants. I'm wearing the sweatpants right now, actually. And we have the stickers as well. Stickers, hats, you know the deal. This is our Minnesota Viking hat color 2. We have the other version as well, which you can see right here. Minnesota Wild, Vikings, Gophers. We have Twins, or if you want to go Granite City Lumberjacks, because the Twins are being the Twins and really sucking it up. Guys getting hurt. Not great. But but you can take it how you want it. We got all the other hats, the neons, the orange as well. We got the OGs with the camo and everything like that. So let us know. We can hook you up. So. Shout out to National Fleet Graphic for the stickers. Shout out to our guy, Will Rattel, W2 Performance, at www.w2performance.com. Make sure you check out him on the socials media. He's very active on YouTube, Instagram, the Facebooks. I don't think he's on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken. But you can check him out there. Make sure you check out the Brotherly Ballers podcast, Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers. And make sure you check out TLS Performance, our guy, Troy Stoudemire Jr., doing his thing as well. And make sure you check out our guys at the Popcorn Bucket List, Nick Dahlhoff and Ryne Myhrberg as well. Omni Entertainment, they're on the YouTubes, they're on the socials medias too. Make sure you check out their latest movies. So that being said, that's going to do it for episode 275. Voldy, I got to do one last check before we hop off here, unless there is anything. And it seems like there isn't. Wow, I'm kind of disappointed. I felt like there's going to be a couple more things happening, but apparently not. So that's what we got. But we will be back next week. We'll have more Vikings. Kylermurray will probably be a Viking by then. We'll see. And more on the Vikings. The Wolves have been struggling. Wild have been great. Twins will be starting up here soon, unfortunately. Just kidding. I hate ripping on it, but it's true. It's true. Anyway, without further ado, as always, remember, folks, keep it up.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.